It will never be the same as it was before.
Gilbert Corrette says this is what locals in Lac Megantic refer to as the red zone. Gravel and weeds stretch for blocks, where their thriving downtown once stood.
We were just walking here, and driving in, and it was just like an old bone town,
It was forever changed in the early morning hours of July 6, 2013, when a Montreal, Maine and Atlantic Railway train parked miles away began to roll downhill. It picked up speed and derailed near this crossing in the heart of the town. 63 tank cars filled with crude oil jumped the tracks, causing explosions and a massive fire that burned for days.
Some fires went to about 1,000 feet high. Yeah, it was just like an atomic bomb. People were running everywhere, trying to save their life.
47 were killed. Frontenac Street, unrecognizable.
Oh God, it was just like I lost all half of myself. Half of my soul, half of my heart.
An investigation by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada identified 18 causes and contributing factors, including an engine fire earlier that night, a weak safety culture at the company, and inadequate oversight. Transport Canada immediately required any unattended trains be secured and an extra crew member on trips with dangerous goods. Tank cars, like those used in the disaster, must meet new safety standards. Officials say the agency continues to work closely with its counterparts in the United States, where similar changes have been made. According to the Association of American Railroads, or AAR, the industry has invested billions in upgrades and even has a mobile app so first responders can see what's moving in a rail car at any given time. There are more tests and inspections, and positive train control, which uses GPS to prevent collisions and derailments, is required on all railroads by the end of this year.
A number of measures have been taken to improve safety, but they don't address, in my view, the elephant in the room, which is the relationship between the regulator and the regulated industry.
Bruce Campbell is former director of the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives and has a book about the disaster coming out this fall. He says the railroad companies are too powerful, and some of the improvements have been watered down with conditions, leaving opportunity for another tragedy.
There's a whole variety of things which in my view, mean that the full lessons have not been learned.
AAR officials maintain 99.99% of all tank cars carrying crude oil reach their destination without incident. But there's also less being hauled. According to the Maine Department of Environmental Protection, 190,000 barrels of oil were transported by rail through the state in 2017, but not crude. That hasn't been reported since 2015. The Bangor-based Central Maine and Quebec Railway, which took over ownership of the tracks through Lac Megantic after the disaster, says demand has dropped, but they'll reevaluate the situation if that changes. It's little consolation for locals.
A lot should be done. A lot more should be done.
Corrette helped form a citizens coalition that's been pushing for safety and has no plans to stop. Members of the group say the town still sits at the bottom of one of the steepest train tracks in Canada, and the curve at this crossing was rebuilt twice as sharp.
Donc nous avons les mêmes conditions.
So we have the same dangerous condition using the railroad that we had at the time of the catastrophe.
Though they are celebrating one major victory. In May, the federal government here in Canada announced it will help foot the bill for a bypass, sending trains about 7 miles around Lac Megantic instead of right through it. Until then, every whistle will rattle their nerves.
A reminder, of a nightmare.
But listen closely, and you'll also hear the hum of construction. A reminder of how far they've come. In Lac Megantic, Marissa Bodner, CBS 13 News.